Prairie Street, this is a big week in the United States. On Tuesday, Americans will go to the polls to vote for who will be the president of this country for the next 4 years. 4 years ago, I fell asleep on the couch watching the results come in. And it seems that this year, we don't even know if we'll know the results at the end of the night on Tuesday, with mail-in ballots coming in from different states at different times. So, as Americans, we know that we might have to wait. Waiting during this time is not easy. We've learned that. As we've waited for an end to the coronavirus pandemic, as we've waited to worship together in this building, as we've waited to embrace loved ones who are separated from us, as we've waited to go back to normal, or at least a new normal. During the last few months, we have waited. As we watch the news, we've waited for an end to police violence against Black lives. We've waited for the wildfires and the hurricanes to stop being so frequent. We've waited for workers to regain their livelihoods during this economic slowdown. And you know what? It feels at some times that we've been waiting for too long, right? And some of us might be waiting to find out if all of these problems will be solved after Tuesday. You know, it's nothing new for humanity to have big problems like this. The Hebrew scriptures reminded God's people that it gets pretty bad out there sometimes. And so you have to take care of the vulnerable people among you, the orphans, the widows, and the immigrants. The Hebrew scriptures called on God's people to pay close attention to these folks. Check in on them. Make sure they have what they need. Take care. God said that you are to be a holy people, that the way you live would show this world that there is a solution to some of the problems that we face. That even the most vulnerable could be taken care of. Even us when we are vulnerable. Well, eventually God would come to the people with this message. God showed up on earth with a body and a mom and a dad just like them. Jesus. And Jesus told them this story that we heard today from Luke 18 about one of these vulnerable people, a widow. Someone had been taking advantage of this widow. And just like the world that we see on the news today, this widow found herself in a world where there was no justice. So as she was being taken advantage of, she went to the local judge. She visited him and she said, "Give me justice." And she came back again later and said, "Give me justice." And she came back and said, "Give me justice. Give me justice. Give me justice. Give me justice." Does that sound familiar? Today is All Saints' Day, or Todos Santos in Spanish. From 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock today, you are invited to drive up to our church building here at Prairie Street to light a candle or place a photo or leave an item in memory and in prayer for someone who has passed away. We remember our own saints who have passed away in the last year. Harold Weaver, J.D. Little, Carrie Diener, Donnabelle Fletcher. And we remember those in our community who have lost their lives to the coronavirus, of others, of friends and family and loved ones, of leaders in the church here in the United States and around the world. All of those who have left us with their work of waiting. Yeah. All of these saints waited, just like us, just like the widow in front of the judge. Luke writes at the beginning of this parable that we heard today that Jesus told it in order to encourage his disciples to pray continuously and to not be discouraged. I don't know about you, but this is the kind of message that I really needed to hear right now, because there is so much to be discouraged about. All of this waiting for justice, waiting for peace, waiting for healing. When the widow asked the judge for justice, he said no. And he said no again. And no again. And the widow waited. But she was persistent. She waited because she knew that no would not always be the answer. She was persistent because she knew that the judge could give her justice. She was persistent because she knew that there was a solution to the problem she was facing. And it happened because after all of her waiting and after all of her persistence, the judge said, I will give this widow justice because she keeps bothering me. And as Jesus tells the story, he says, listen to that. Even this unjust judge who does not care about people, who does not fear the Lord, will change. And the persistent waiting of the widow can make a difference. So sisters and brothers, and all of you who are waiting for justice, who are waiting for peace, who are waiting for healing, you are making a difference. We, the saints of today, together with the saints of yesterday who cry out to the unjust judges of this world, give me justice, will see it. Because justice does not belong to those unjust judges. Justice belongs to God. And so, like the widow who was not discouraged by the unjust judge, who waited, who was persistent in calling out what belongs to God in the first place, you, sisters and brothers, can be encouraged too. What you wait for does not belong to public health officials. It does not belong to politicians, and it does not belong to the President of the United States of America. Your salvation is found in Jesus Christ, who invites you and me in this parable to wait with hope. Because in the end, the strong will of the unjust judges of this world will collapse under the perfect justice that belongs to God, our Creator. Amen.